For educators, can you give your top tips for someone who they want to be more empathetic? What do they do? How do they do that?
It starts with the mindset that you come into the relationship or the engagement with. What's driving your mindset and your perspective of your student? The reality is there's a lot of negative intent that we have as teachers at times. And some of that is not, it might not even be driven by what your students are doing. It might just be who you are as a person, what makes you tick at times, right? And I think by really having that introspective will allow you to identify, are those things that I'm bringing in positive, uplifting the spirit of my students, creating an opportunity for my students to know that there's an ally on the other end, right? That person that's standing up in front of the classroom every day, the person sends an email out asking for assignments, that person that's monitoring your quiz and tests, that person is an ally. That person is not an antagonist. And if you're intentional by identifying it, one, and then finding the right words to position your intentions to your students, and then coming alongside them to demonstrate what your intentions are, they will know and it will make an impact.
Absolutely.
Because the ultimate is you want a student to be able to say, Professor Bilik, the subject that he teaches is so hard and tough, but I always feel like Professor Bilik is always listening, always creates time, right? Always finds a way to make connection, right? Like that stuff is coming out of your empathetic behaviors, various of characteristics that you're displaying that's reflecting it. And that's the sweet spot. You want the learners to be able to differentiate between the negative or the challenging aspect of a subject than how they actually depict you as a teacher and how you show up.
Right. I always say, man, that was really, really difficult and we did it. Like we got there. Absolutely.
And I guess the last thing I would also say is just normalizing the challenge. I feel like sometimes as teachers, we're so quick to try to paint a picture that's positive or easy and non-difficult because we want to invite the learner into the process, maybe setting a more happier or less challenging expectation. I would actually challenge that. I think it's important to be able to call out the tough and the hard part of the class or the content or the subject, and then help the students to understand that part of the journey is going to be navigating this various aspect of whatever the topic is, but there's resources to help to walk you alongside, and maybe even calling out challenging aspect of it that others have experienced and how they've walked through it. Or if it's even your own story when you were in college or in high school or whatever, if you found yourself struggling with it, or if you didn't find yourself struggling with it, making connection to other folks' experience. And because when you normalize the difficulty and the challenges, then it sets a more realistic expectation that yes, it is going to be challenging. Yes, it's going to take time, but there's tools and resources to help walk alongside you. And you can be empathetic by saying, hey, I know there's going to be times where you're going to feel frustrated, you're going to feel angry, but I want you to know I'm going to be here to support you because I've dealt with the same thing with many students that have come across this class. Absolutely. And we're going to walk through it together, right? So normalizing the difficulties and the challenges and having a plan of action, you're just setting a map for the students to walk into that challenge.
Absolutely.